You see, in the winter of 1963, I was 8 years old, and my mother had been pacing back and forth through that old rundown rental house we had down by the warehouse district. And you could just see the weariness on her face and hear the stress in her voice when she asked my big sister what we should do. Now, my big sister was only 5 years older than me, but at 13, she was the closest thing my mother had to an adult that she could talk to. You see, we'd been waiting for 2 days for my dad to come home with some money for food and coal and hopefully enough to get the electricity back on. You see, waiting became sort of a way of life for us after our older brother Dickie passed away and Dad chose drinking over family. Well, I could see that she was about to cry, so I took my younger brother and my little sister on up the stairs to my room. The baby stayed in her arms where she could keep him warm. My brother Scott and I were wearing our winter coats, and we just finished scraping our names in the window frost with our fingernails, and we saw a car roll around the corner and slowly come down the hill to a stop in front of our house. Now, we didn't recognize that big old 58 Burgundy Buick with the chrome visor and a matching grill that turned down into a frown. But we could see there was a man and woman in the front seat and another couple in the back. Well, that rear door swung open and out spilled loud laughter along with my old man. I crept down the hall to the top of the stairs and heard my mom say that she'd been worried about him. She thought maybe something happened to him. And then she murmured something that I couldn't make out. And then I heard him in a real clear voice say, "What money? I ain't got no money. I just came home to change my shirt." I heard him stepping onto the stairs, so I ducked back into my room. And I listened as he opened his dresser drawer and then slammed it again. And then through the crack of the door, I saw him come back out into the hall and go back down the stairs. In an injured tone, my mom asked about that woman in the back seat of the Buick. Well, he fumbled for an excuse, and he said that it was the wife of so-and-so, and they were just giving her a ride home. Heard the front door slam and looked out the window, and I saw him crawl into the back seat of that Buick with that woman and watched it slowly roll on down the hill. Well, that night we had pears for supper that he'd brought home from somewhere the month before. In the bottom of that crate, there were still a few good ones, and the ones that weren't so great, we just cut the brown spots out and ate them anyway. Well, bad turned to worse when a Arctic chill came down from the north and the temperatures dropped to a dangerous low. We were afraid the water pipes were going to freeze and burst. Well, my sister stepped up with 50 cents she'd earned babysitting, and she said, "Mama, Danny and I could go down to the coal yard and we could get enough fuel to keep the house from freezing overnight." Now, it would have been really nice to have maybe some bread and milk, but it wasn't going to happen, not tonight. So we got our sled and a bushel basket, and off we went. Our teeth were chattering before we even reached the corner. We made the turn, and that icy wind was just biting our cheeks and stinging our ears. It didn't take me long to fall behind, because I looked up at a window, and I saw a big Christmas tree. And there stood a man in just his shirt sleeves holding a baby up to admire those beautiful decorations. Well, my sister noticed that I wasn't behind her anymore, and she stomped back through that snow to get me. You see, I was sort of a constant irritation to her. Yep, she said that I was born wearing rose-colored glasses, and I came out with a head full of nothing but silly daydreams. And there I was. I was about to reach full glow from this Norman Rockwell moment, and she came up behind me and cuffed me in the back of the head. "Wake up! Stop your stupid daydreaming and come on!" So I hurried up along behind her. When we got down to the coal yard, the gates were closed for the night. And under a street light stood a great big red steel box that looked to me like a giant soda machine. Well, my sister stepped up to it. She took off her mittens and she got out her quarters and she dropped them in the slot and she turned the knob, and down the chute, coal was supposed to slide into my waiting basket. But nothing happened. Desperately, she rattled that knob and she pounded on the front of that thing, and nothing. She tried it again. Nothing. Well, her little head went down, her shoulders came up, and she began to sob. I said, Jan, what's the matter? She said, that stupid machine, it took our money, but it kept the coal. Now we've got nothing. I am so sick of living like this. Well, seeing her so hopeless made me feel sick and empty inside, and I rushed up and I hugged her as tight as I could. And there was nothing warm between us but the tears running down her face. How long we stood there under that street light in the swirling wind and snow, I couldn't tell you. And then finally she pushed me away. And she said, we might as well go home now. There's nothing else we can do. And angrily she kicked at the snow and uncovered 3 pieces of coal. So I moved the snow to the side with my foot and uncovered some more. Jan, look by the gate, there's more. So we ran over and started gathering it up. And our spirits started burning and brighter as we found a piece over here and a chunk over there, and soon our basket overflowed with more coal than we would have ever got for the 50 cents that was still stuck inside that stupid machine. Well, she wanted her money back. She stuck out her bottom lip. She marched up to that thing. She cursed it real good and kicked it real hard. And out spilled 6 shiny quarters. Now, I don't remember how long that fire kept us warm, and I don't recall what we did with all those quarters. But I remember that night as clearly as a snapshot in a picture book. You see, we didn't always get what we wanted, but from that moment on, we treasured the gifts we had, each other. Always live with hope, recognize your gifts, and be good to one another. Thank you.